there, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome, and I hope you stick around. So today I'm going to be wrapping up all the books that I read in the month of August, as well as the N.E.W.T.s Magical Readathon. I did complete all the books that I needed to in order to continue on with my career as a librarian. I'm very proud of myself, and I can't wait to print out my diploma, which I will be doing soon. Anyway, this is probably going to be a quick one. I have 6 books that I want to talk about. 2 of those are books that are not a part of the N.E.W.T.s Readathon, so I'm going to go ahead and start with those. So the first book that I read was Inspection by Josh Malerman. This is an adult thriller, I guess, with some horror aspects. So I ended up really enjoying this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. However, I think that this is a book that a lot of people will not enjoy because for the first maybe 250 pages, not much happens, and you're kind of waiting for the end to really connect everything or to really get the most out of the book. And I think that a lot of people won't like that, and also maybe a lot of people might get bored throughout it, which is why I suggest if you're going to read this book, definitely read it all in one sitting, or at least with as few interruptions as possible, because I think that that is definitely the best way to consume it. That's how I consumed it, and it worked out really, really well. And I really can't tell you too much about it, but this takes place in this tower in the woods, and in this tower there are 26 boys who all are named after the letters of the alphabet. So their names are A or J or Z, you get the point. So these boys have lived their entire lives in this tower. It's all they know. They know nothing of the outside world. They're not taught anything about the outside world, and they know nothing of the opposite sex. They have never seen a girl. They've never heard of a girl. The words woman, girl, she, her are words that do not exist to them. And we follow them as they are now 12 years old, and they're starting to question things around them, and they're questioning most the reason why 2 of their brothers who have been sent to the corner and have never come back. So that's all I'm gonna say about this. I definitely do recommend this, but I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, really enjoyed it, and like I said, definitely binge read this book or read it all in one sitting, because that's definitely the best way to consume it. Okay, next we have Paper Girls Volume 1 by Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chiang. This is a graphic novel following these 4 preteen girls. I think they're like 12 years old. They are paper girls. They deliver newspapers throughout their neighborhood. This actually takes place in the 1980s, which was very interesting, and it follows them on the early morning hours right after Halloween when they're delivering their newspapers, and really strange things start happening, and they're kind of caught up in all of it. And I think that's all I'm gonna say, but this involves a lot. This has a lot going on in it. There's time travel, there's possibly aliens, there's lots of interesting things, and I really enjoyed it. I picked this up because I hear people compare it to Stranger Things, and of course I adore Stranger Things, so anything comparable to that I'm interested in. Do kind of get the same vibe from it, although it is a totally different story. And I definitely highly recommend this graphic novel series. I really enjoyed this first volume, and I can't wait to continue on with the series. And like I said, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, so the last 4 books that I have to talk about are all books that I read for the N.E.W.T.s. The first one is Silver in the Wood by N.E.W.T.s. This was for my Outstanding in Defense Against the Dark Arts, which was to read a book by an English author. And I really enjoyed this. This is a tiny little Tor.com novella, and I adore Tor novellas. I think that they're all really great. And I really enjoyed this one as well. We're following a wild man who lives out in the forest and pretty much takes care of the woods and of the forest and the creatures within the wood. And his name is Tobias. And then one day he stumbles across Henry Silver, who is the new owner of the estate that encompasses the wood. They develop a friendship and maybe something a little more. And it's about all the things that happen during their time together. And I just thought it was so incredibly beautiful. I loved it. I loved their relationship, the magical, sometimes creepy forest, and all the creatures that lived in it, and what they got up to. And I adored it. I definitely recommend this book, especially if you love that creepy magical forest type setting. It was so enjoyable. This is definitely a great book to read during the fall season. Really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I highly recommend. The next 2 books I probably don't need to say too much about because they are super popular here on BookTube, and I am so glad that I got the chance to read them so soon to the 3rd book being released. But they are the 1st and 2nd in a trilogy, and those 2 books are Nevernight and God's Grave, both by Jay Kristoff. I adored these books so much. I honestly had these on my shelf for a while and was really intimidated and kind of afraid to read them because they get so much hype here on BookTube that I was really worried that it wasn't going to live up to the hype, but they totally did. These are, so this is an adult grim dark fantasy series that follows Mia Corvair, who is a girl set on getting revenge for her family who were murdered. To do that, she decides to train with the Red Church to become a blade, which is basically an assassin, so that she can be the most skilled assassin and finally get her revenge on the people who harmed her family. So in the first book, we have this school type setting, which is really interesting. I adored Mia Corvair as a character. I will say there is a lot going on in here. Language, extreme violence, gore, blood, but this book was written so well and so well plotted. I absolutely adored this. I will say it was kind of hard getting into, like the first 50 to 75 pages took me a while to read just because I was adjusting to Jay Kristoff's writing style, which is quite unique. And also it has like these footnotes. I think a lot of people mention this when they talk about Nevernight, but it has these footnotes that sometimes are like half the page, and it can be hard to follow along with the footnotes. But to tell you the truth, I really enjoyed the footnotes. They were always really funny, if not always informative. You did get something out of them. And I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And as far as God's Grave, in this one, we have like this gladiator type setting, which was really wild and I really loved. Everything about these books are things that I'm not necessarily interested in reading in my books, but they all worked in this series somehow, which is incredible. And I think definitely a testament to Jay Kristoff as a writer. I loved God's Grave even more than Nevernight. So again, this was another 5 stars, and I am so glad that I read this series. I loved them both so much. They were amazing. Definitely recommend. I know like everyone has read these already, but if you haven't yet, definitely pick them up. I adored them, and I cannot wait to read Dark Dawn. I'm so excited. So Nevernight was for my A in History of Magic, like I said, which was to read a fantasy, and God's Grave was for my E in History of Magic, which was to read a book that includes a map, which this has 2 maps, so there you go. And then the last book I'm going to talk about today is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I read this for my Outstanding in History of Magic, which was to reread a favorite, and this is definitely my favorite book of all time. I was so scared to reread this because I was worried that I wasn't going to love it as much as I did the first time, but I honestly loved it even more. It was incredible. Like, the reading experience that I had with this book was so amazing. I've never had a reading experience like that before. I loved diving back into this world. It honestly felt like coming home. The magic, the mystery, the atmosphere, everything about this book, everything is just so incredible to me. If you don't know, The Night Circus follows 2 magicians, Celia and Marco, who since they were very young had been forced into this magical duel or competition. And the venue for that competition is the Night Circus, which is this magical, mysterious circus that just appears without warning and only opens at night, and is even more magical because it contains real magic. The thing about the duel between these 2 magicians is that it only ends when one of them dies, which is quite unfortunate because Marco and Celia end up falling in love. The best story that I've ever read. It is the best writing ever read. There's absolutely no book that I have come across that has affected me the way the Night Circus has. It means so much to me. The description of magic in here just gives me chills, and it's literally everything. It's everything that I could ever want in a book, and I don't know if I will ever read a book that will mean as much to me. Maybe Erin Morgenstern's new book that's coming out this November that I'm super excited about, but I don't believe that there's anything that can compare to this book for me. I know that this is a book that isn't for everyone. It's very whimsical, lots of purple prose, but it's everything that I have ever wanted out of a reading experience. If you haven't picked up the Night Circus yet, please give it a try, please. You might really like it, but I think that there's something in this that everyone can get out of it, and I don't know if you can see, but I have tabbed this all over the place because I loved it so much, and there were so many amazing quotes because Erin Morgenstern's writing is just chef's kiss. Those are all the books that I read in August, and those are all my N.E.W.T.s done. I had so much fun this August with reading. I discovered new books that I really enjoyed. My new favorite book of the year. I'm going to leave down below my mid-month wrap-up for August so you can see the first 6 books that I read in the month. My new favorite book of the year being included in that, so I will go ahead and link that down below if you want to check it out. But these are the books that I read in the second half of the month. So do let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these and what you thought of them, or if you're now excited to read them since I talked about them. I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!